Now, while Antifa doesn't have a leader like Joey Gibson, it does have some supporters in high places, including Portland mayoral candidate Sarah Iannarone. During my interview with her yesterday, I read her some of the questions that I've been getting from viewers about how far her support for Antifa goes.
I'm going to refer to some comments here from Facebook, and I'm also going to put a little asterisk. These are not comments from Facebook are not where anybody should go for the specific definitions of how the world works. But these are comments that have been posted under things you have said specifically on your Facebook page, things that have been said on mine as I mentioned that I was interviewing you today, things that people have written on other interviews you have done from various media outlets here in Portland. And I want to read them because they always kind of fit the same narrative. And this isn't accusatory at all, but I think that you should respond to them considering I read it so often. And I just kind of want people to be able to hear what you have to say about it and be able to put it to bed here. So Tony White said in an earlier interview, she, as in you, said that she wasn't the person lighting the fires and wouldn't condemn them. Really? ? Then Raymond Saperstein said, I have read that she is 100% Antifa. Linda Troop wrote, what is your association with the Antifa movement? And I'm going to read between the lines a little bit on those. I don't think that they're describing the simple stance against fascism, which is something that I think we should all endorse, but rather the people who are setting the fires, brawling in the streets with the Proud Boys, and committing other types of violent acts. Can you speak at all to these comments that I've seen time and time again under anything you say online?
Thanks for the opportunity to do that. If I tried to reply to them all individually, it would take me months, if not years. I condemn violence. I believe that violence is bad no matter who's doing it. And what I said was I understand that the people perpetrating that were angry, and rightfully so, and that I also saw that the Portland police were engaged in their own violence. But let's talk about Antifa sometimes, because I have said that I am anti-fascist, but I don't want to undermine the fact that we have a bumper sticker on my campaign that says, everyday anti-fascist always. If you talk to our elders who were there for World War II, fascism is bad. I mean, being opposed to fascism should not be something that people shy away from in 2020. When we look at Trump sending unaccountable forces here who were scooping up people into vans, that is something to be scared of. And so when I say something like everyday anti-fascist, what that means to me is that every Portlander should come together to oppose bigotry and hate and exclusion and violence in our city. And even putting this into practice, I've put it into practice in very nonviolent ways. Last August, when we had the incursion of white nationalists from outside our city come in to incite riots and wreak havoc here, we did something called Tamp Out Hate on my campaign, because we looked at the toxic masculinity that was driving a lot of this anger and rage that we see on display. And we collected menstrual products, and then we distributed thousands of them to homeless shelters around the city. To me, that's what anti-fascism is. It's the kind community organizing that says hate is not welcome here, that a strong, cohesive community is ultimately our first responder in times of disaster, that when the going gets tough, we are there for each other. And the way that this has been weaponized against people like me, I think is indicative of what Trump begets in our society right now. And I agree with Mayor Wheeler that Trump is amplifying violence and making it unnecessarily worse. But to call anti-fascism something a terrorist organization, it's just not true. And if you look at pictures of me or you search that hashtag,
I think that they're also referring to maybe your unwillingness to be critical of a group that has kind of co-opted that anti-fascist movement, or at least are willing to use violent means in order to uphold those same beliefs.
When we look at the history of white nationalism, when we look at the KKK even, and when you look at law enforcement's historic sympathizing, if you will, with white supremacy in the United States, what you have people saying is that we are not going to tolerate that kind of violence here. And they're responding to that. If there were no people who were white supremacists, if there were no white nationalist agitators, if there weren't this new KKK who were coming to be racist against Black Portlanders who were anti-Semitic, right, against our Jewish community, they would be home growing tomatoes and microbrewing, right, beers. It's not, these people are not in this for fun. They're in this because they care about community, and ultimately they want people to be safe too, is my understanding of where they're coming from when they talk about why they're doing what they're doing.
All right, if you missed any of my conversation with Sarah Iannarone, there's a big chunk of it for you. We just played, but you can watch the whole thing. We spoke for 47 minutes, I think. It's on the KGW YouTube channel right now. While you're there, hopefully hit that subscribe button and check out some of the other interesting stuff that we have on our YouTube channel. Now, close watchers of the story